With sincere thanks to the Board of Trustees of the Sephardic Temple, I'd just like to say it is so gratifying to see this large gathering today, an important date in the history of our community. I'd like to begin with a special barakah. The Gemara tells us that when you have not seen a special friend within the last 30 days, you are obligated to recite Shafianu. And I'm sure that there are folks here today that have not seen each other for some time, if not due to just not being in close proximity, certainly during COVID. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, Shafianu v'imanu v'gianu lazaman hazeh. The image of the shepherd is found everywhere in the Bible, as well as in later Jewish sources from the Talmudic sage Mar Ukba's Raya Higra to the Zohar's Raya Mehemna. It's rare that a rabbi takes the helm of a fledgling congregation and shepherds it over many decades, serving as its leader until his death. Indeed, most agree that the last epithet, Raya Mehemna, the faithful shepherd, best describes Rabbi Arnold V. Marans. And that is why it appears most prominently on the plaque, as you shall see. I wanted to give a title to this program and reflected on the verse from Jeremiah that you will see inscribed on the memorial plaque in just a few moments. And in English, we translate it as the following: I remember the unfailing devotion of your youth, the love of your bridal days, when you followed me in the wilderness, through a land not sown. Over the years, Rabbi Marans remarked to me several times that this pasuk was perhaps his favorite in all of Scripture. The poetry moved him greatly, and perhaps most impactfully when he studied it with Professor H.L. Ginsburg. For the title of our program, I use the phrase from the last chapter of Micah, Re'ei amecha v'shibtecha. This is a play on words. Shepherd your people with your staff is the verse. And it refers to the prophet's request to God, the providential shepherd, to shepherd his flock. The shevet, the staff, is the useful tool by which a shepherd guides his flock. But shevet is also a symbol of his leadership. And by extension, it comes to mean tribe or clan. Under the loving and loyal husbandry of Rabbi Marans and his wife Tzipora, his flock, the Sephardic Temple, a congregation of truth and peace, emet v'shalom, grew alongside his tribe, the shevet of the Marans family. The two are beautifully bound together, as we see so concretely this morning. The blessed memory of our founding rabbi serves to gather together once again his loyal flock alongside his adoring clan, his progeny. May this consecration of a memorial plaque for Rabbi Arnold Bernard Marans, Zichrono Livracha, be a moment of celebration and inspiration for all. Amen. I now invite our President Isaac Mayo to the podium.
Thank you, Rabbi. Bienvenidos. Welcome, everybody. It is my honor today to welcome everybody here for the dedication of the soon-to-be seen memorial plaque honoring Rabbi Marans. I especially want to welcome his family, Rabbi Marans Zipporah, Israel, Hillel, Tzvi, Noam, and Eliza, and their respective families. Thank you all for coming so near and far to celebrate with us today. As you may or may not know, I've known the rabbi and his family since about 1954. I was very young. Our families lived across the street from each other. They lived on Louisiana, and we lived on Williams Avenue in East New York. The big Sephardic Temple, the big United Sephardim of Brooklyn synagogue, was created on a triangle of a city block, and it was giving our families access to a play area and to crossing ease. It was then when so many times I remember Rabbi Marans going to and from the shul, from his house to the shul was very close. And us, the family boys and myself and my friends, and we were all out there playing in the street. He would always stop in a minute or two to say hello, maybe check up on us, see what we were doing. We never really got into too much trouble, not on the side anyway. He always spoke with concern for our well-being, especially in his very nice, kind-hearted way. So I had the opportunity to read the wordage on the plaque, and there were 3 adjectives describing the rabbi that are unforgettable to me when it comes to reminding me of the times when he was moving back and forth from the temple. Charismatic, compassion, and kindness. So when the plaque is being read, please listen and consider listening to those words for the three times and how they describe the rabbi himself. I want to take a minute or two to say thank you for Rabbi Golden for setting up this affair. This took a lot of work, a lot of dedication, a lot of time, and a lot of love. Been working for months and months on this to get this together. I'm so impressed by the amount of people that showed up as well. Thank you all for coming so much. Executive Director Lloyd Denneberg, who can't be with us today, he has a illness in his family. He had a lot of help in organizing this event, and Ashley Rothbard for her participation in making sure we all got our ducks in place. She made sure all the printing got done. She made sure all the scheduling was done, and she's a very big help. Also, I want to say thank you a lot to Angel De Leon and Damian Orleano for setting up the rooms and getting things organized. All right, so here's how this program's going to work. We're going to hear from a few speakers. I'm going to introduce 1 or 2 or 3. I don't know. I think there's 3. We're going to have a few prayers and blessings to connect us together. And then finally, we're going to join together for some coffee and some friendship. So sit back, relax, enjoy the program. Disfruta de nuestros tiempos juntos. Please enjoy our special time together. At this time, I'd like to introduce past president and good friend of mine, Stephen Chernoff, to offer a few words of reflection.
Thank you, Isaac. Rabbi Golden, Isaac Alex Cohen, representing Zipporah, family, and friends. I wish to thank the Marans family for allowing me the honor of saying a few words at this ceremony in remembrance of our founding Rabbi Arnold Marans, of blessed memory. As president of the temple for over 7 years, I had the privilege to sit next to the rabbi at all services. This closeness gave me insight to his values and his general philosophy of family life, which I always cherished. In one of my presidential Kol-Nidre night speeches, I described the rabbi's special attributes. I said he had great intellect. When I went back to my seat, I can recall his smile and sign of glee on his face when he repeated the word intellect with a question mark. Since I knew the rabbi had a very thorough grasp of languages and the careful use of words, I looked up the meaning of the word intellect and its appropriate use. The dictionary says the ability to reason and understand objectively. Synonyms are judgment and wisdom. I knew I used the appropriate word. Our rabbi's intellect was one of the cornerstones of his life success. In our journal luncheon a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of sitting next to Zipporah, Ariel, and meeting Hadar and Mayor for the first time. I know the fact that they were in our temple would have given Rabbi Marans great pleasure and joy, especially the smiling of Mayor. What a beauty. I was proud to see another generation of Marans claim in our temple. Izzy, Goldie, please convey to Ariel, Hadar, and Mara that this temple will always be available to them as it is for the entire Marans family. The Sephardic Temple is a part of the Marans family, extended family. Our rabbi's love for both his temple and his generational family was without limits. I know that he would be proud today to see us all dedicating this plaque, although not for the plaque, but because we gathered here in his name. He always resisted any proposal of dedications in his name. He preferred honoring temple congregants and the raising of money for the temple. However, I am confident that he would approve of this ceremony because it brought us all together in his beloved Sephardic Temple. The Rabbi's legacy of reason, commitment to temple, and love of us all live on. May his soul be at everlasting peace as we continue in his name. May Hashem bless our members and the Marans family with good health and long life. Thank you.
And now I'd like to invite Rabbi Golden and Stephen Chernoff to go by the plaque over there. We're going to unveil the plaque and we're going to read it to you.
You read my show, yeah, I'll read it. Rabbi Arnold Bernard Marans, founding rabbi of the Sephardic Temple. Zacharti la chesed urayich, ahavak hulotayich, levtech acharai b'midbar, be'eretz lo zeruah. A faithful shepherd of generations. Rabbi Arnold B. Marans was chosen in 1954 to head the United Sephardim of Brooklyn, a community of young Sephardic Jews originating primarily from Turkey, Greece, and Rhodes. In 1961, as many of his congregation moved to Long Island, Rabbi Marans became a driving force in building a new synagogue in the Five Towns. Completed in 1964, the Sephardic Temple of Cedarhurst, Kahal Kadosh Emet V'Shalom, became a beacon for Sephardic Jews, merging the cherished Balkan traditions with modernity. Under Rabbi Marans' leadership, the synagogue became a leader of Sephardic identity throughout the world. Rabbi Marans was a warm and charismatic leader, and at all times, Ohev et Habariyot and Rodev Shalom. A fervent Zionist, he created an unbreakable bond between the synagogue and the state of Israel. He fostered, together with his congregants, philanthropy to a myriad of Sephardic causes. His erudition and oratorical skills were legendary, ensuring that the great ideals and values of our faith would continue for generations. Rabbi Marans enhanced the lives of so many with compassion and kindness. Our rabbi's love for the Jewish people and the land of Israel was surpassed only by his devotion to this congregation and to the large, adoring family he created with our Rubisa, Sipora Marans. A funeral service was held at the Sephardic Temple on July 12, 2020, Chaf Tammuz Tasha, the day he died, the day he reached 92 years. Rabbi Marans is buried in Jerusalem among the Sephardim on Har HaZeitim. May the legacy of his 66 years of leadership, loyalty, and passion be an everlasting source of blessing and inspiration. Yehi Zichro Baruch.
Thank you, Rabbi. If you look inside your program, there are the words of the benediction, and I'll give you a moment to get them. At this time, I'd like to invite a very good friend of mine, Jerry Hannum, to leading us in the singing of benediction.
Bendito su nombre del Señor del mundo. Sea su voluntad con su pueblo Israel para siempre. mostra tu pueblo en casa de tu santidad. De cuenta de tu claridad. Sea voluntad delante de ti. Y por ser nosotros tus siervos, por apiadarnos y a todo lo que tú sos que mantienes a todos. Tú sos que podestas sobre los reyes. Y el reinado tuyo es. Y nos humillamos delante de él. En cada hora y hora. Y nos sobreángeles de los cielos nos sufrimos. Él es Dios de verdad. Y su profeta verdad. En él nosotros nos entusiasmamos. Nosotros decimos alabaciones. Que abras nuestros corazones en tu ley. Y corazón de tu pueblo Israel. Por bien y por vida y por paz.
Thank you, Jerry. That was absolutely beautiful. Very moving. Next, I'd like to invite someone. It's hard for me to say this because I don't want to say how old you are, but I know this man for probably 65 years. And there's not too many people I could say that. Probably the only other person I could say that is about Zipporah and late Rabbi Marans. I'd like to invite Israel Marans up to deliver a tribute of the father.
Our beloved Imam, Rabbi Golden, President Isaac Mayo, past presidents Alex Cohen and Stephen Chernoff, family and friends. I have been asked to speak on behalf of our family, and it is my honor to share some thoughts with you. Rabbi Golden, your very warm words were very much appreciated. Isaac, Stephen, I hope you left something for me to say. Alex, I hope you leave something for you to say. Our father joined the United Sephardim of Brooklyn in 1954. Rabbi Arnold B. Marans served the Sephardic community for 66 years. This incredible accomplishment, unparalleled in rabbinic service, is attributable to his love for this magnificent synagogue and for his love of the Balkan Sephardim. Undoubtedly, this is the house of prayer that Arnold Marans built. Our mother vividly recalls meeting the leaders of the community in 1954 and being introduced to the many Sephardic kihilot in Nulas. As Isaac pointed out, my early childhood recollections are so extensive, but let me mention just a few. The United Sephardim of Brooklyn was a communal, warm synagogue serving the people in Nulatz. Late Friday night services, followed by a congregational kiddush that often lasted until midnight, was the highlight of the week. After my parents moved to 11 Louisiana Avenue, the first Sukkot in the new home enabled my parents and the congregation to build a 200-foot sukkah, the length of our entire driveway, that was open to the entire community. My bedroom looked out into the sukkah. I remember not being able to go to sleep at night as people visited the sukkah, many who had never had the opportunity to eat in a sukkah before, enjoyed the holiday so wonderfully. Junior congregation and the Talmud Torah program were so well attended. The founders of the Sephardic Temple had a vision: the purchase of the land, the planning and construction of our beautiful temple. Everything was thought of in order to create a congregation that was established to serve the community at large. The early years included services at our home at 564 Redwood Drive. From 1964, the Sephardic Temple became home to so many families celebrating life cycle events, our family included. My bar mitzvah, our wedding, where Goldie and I chose to name our children in the years before our Aliyah. My brother Noam eulogized our father so eloquently. I would like to quote from Noam's words. Rabbi Marans lived within and appreciated many different Jewish worlds that captured the nature of his Jewishness. There were no Jews or expressions of Judaism that were foreign or alien to him. His Ahavat Yisrael, love of the Jewish people, wouldn't allow that. He believed in conciliation, not confrontation. That's the way he led our family. That's the way he led this congregation. That's the way he led his life. He had plenty of commitments, principles, and goals, but he never put them higher than the pursuit of peace, whether it be in his personal or professional life. Our father was uncompromising when it came to his commitment to his congregants. There were no boundaries when he was needed. That is why multiple generations of some families, even 5 generations in a few cases, couldn't imagine a brit milah, baby naming, bar or bat mitzvah, wedding or funeral that was not officiated by him. For Rabbi Marans, when it came to fulfilling rabbinic duty, there were no days off or vacations. He gave of himself fully, a principle he followed in all aspects of his life, not just the rabbinate. And he was blessed with a keen intellect. Oratorial skills, he knew the right things to say and how to say them, how to bring joy and meaning to a celebration and comfort to a bereaved family. He came to Shabbat services each week, well past the age of 91. He stopped only because COVID-19 closed the synagogue for services. I was fortunate in the month before COVID struck to be able to bring my father to Sabbath morning services in February. And it was very, very meaningful for him. And we know that this is why he lived from week to week, looking forward to services at the Sephardic Temple. On a personal note, I would like to share with you a thought of how rabbinic colleagues viewed our father's extraordinary relationship with the Sephardic Temple. For our Abba's 90th birthday celebration, Goldie and I traveled to New York. At the conveyor belt, waiting for our suitcases at JFK, I noticed Rabbi Shlomo Riskin, who was on our plane. Rabbi Riskin is the chief rabbi of Efrat, and before his Aliyah, Rabbi Riskin was the rabbi in the Lincoln Square Synagogue in Manhattan. A close friend of our father. I shared with Rabbi Riskin why we were coming to New York, and I added that our family has been blessed to be able to celebrate our Abba reaching the age of 90. Rabbi Riskin listened and answered, that is true, but the true blessing is that his congregation has been blessed with such a long and devoted rabbinical career, and the Sephardic Temple is indeed blessed to have a rabbi such as Rabbi Marans to lead the congregation for so many years. Our father passed away at the age of 92 and is buried on Mount of Olives, Har HaZeitim in Yerushalayim. We will cherish his memory for generations to come. On behalf of our mother Tzipora, siblings Hillel, Tzvi, Noam, and Eliza, and our spouses and extended family, we thank the leadership of the Sephardic Temple for honoring our beloved father. The dedication of this plaque in his honor is testimony to the many years of service to the Sephardic Temple and to the entire community. Yehi Zichro Baruch.
Thank you, Israel. Let's take a second. I remember that sukkah. We all walked there, but I also, when you said about the bed, you know, the boys and Tzipora used to go up to the country for a certain time. Rabbi Marans stayed with us for the shul over there. I remember that one summer, I don't remember, I was young, of course, too. But my dad and the rabbi had built the bunk beds for the 4 boys in that house up there. So that was just, I just, hold up, yeah. I just remember that. I'm overwhelmed. All right, it's my honor and my pleasure right now to introduce a very good friend, another lifelong friend, Alex Cohen, honorary life trustee, to say a few words about the matter.
Thank you. Rabbi Stephen Shira Golden, President Mike Mayo, ex-President Stephen Chernow, Mrs. Sephora, Marans, and family, members of the congregation, and friends. Shalom. I've been invited here to tell you something of the rabbi and his accomplishments. Perhaps because I know him for so many, many years and was involved in so many of his activities. I first met the rabbi when he came to New Lights to lead a congregation of young Sephardic people, men and women who had come home from the wars. And they were in the formative years. And they were looking for leadership. They had come home and they had been all over the world. And they had been to Orthodox services. They had been to conservative, to liberal services. They had heard the Jewish services in English. They had heard from military chaplains. And so they were no longer satisfied with the old rites that they had lived through and the education, the Jewish education that they had received. And so they banded together and they invited this young Ashkenazi rabbi and his bride to come to New Lights and to lead them and help them form a congregation. And to tell the story properly, I must tell you something about New Lights, because it was a bustling Jewish community of Ashkenazi and Sephardic Jews. And the Sephardic Jews had come from the Balkans and brought their religious rites and customs with them. And they had constructed their own congregations and synagogues. And the custodians had the custodian synagogue, and the monasteries had their own synagogue, the Angaris had their own synagogue, and there was pride and prejudice. And they continued separately until these young people came back. And the demographics of the community changed. And the older people began to pass on, and younger people began to move away from the neighborhood. And New Lights no longer was a great place to bring up the families, as it had been. And people moved away, and some went to Canarsie, and they organized a synagogue and a congregation there. And some people went to the Rockaways. And a fairly large number of people went to the 5 towns and to North Woodmere, where new homes were being built and the land was being developed. And when the Sephardic community began to arrive in the 5-town area, there were no Sephardic synagogues. And the older people were ready to reinvent New Lights. And the younger people said, no, we want something more. We want a Sephardic community that will come together. And then there were these arguments and discussions. And then the young rabbi said to the leaders of the young Sephardic congregation that he organized prevailed. And they agreed that they would build one congregation, one Sephardic building that would house the entire Sephardic community. And there was peace. They decided that they would do so. And now the work began, and it was a tremendous effort. One side of the race, people had to be convinced. And this is where the rabbi's leadership of the young Sephardic congregation shone forth. But now we have this weekend thinking along the similar lines that he did. And they would erect the temple that would house the entire Sephardic community, not only of the immediate area, but all those Sephardics that lived in the metropolitan area. And so the work began, and funds were raised. And a tract of land had to be procured, and not in an area that was already in the development. And thanks to the leadership of some of the young people, this tract was found and purchased. And now they needed the work of the young attorneys to establish the legal basis of the congregation. And then they needed the business people of the young community to establish the business plan. And the rabbi was always at the forefront of this because it was bringing all these young people forward to do the work. And I remember how it involved me. And he asked me to undertake a project which I was reluctant to do. And he said to me, Alex, if you refuse me, it will be the first time you have ever refused me anything. And so I agreed, because that was his way of getting you involved. And that was his method. And so, architect with imagination and experience was hired, and plans for the building for me. And the synagogue, it was this building that we are in. We are the beneficiaries of his vision. And the rabbi was not content with this, but he wanted to make the Jewish community a force in the Jewish world. He wanted to make this synagogue part of the Jewish world. So that when it was built and the doors were open, we began to get involved in various projects. And when the Russians permitted Russian Jews to be, the rabbi and Sephora were at the forefront of this effort. And they were able to free Russian Jews, bring them to America and to Israel. And he organized fundraising and selling bonds to against Israel. And there were and the 5 towns rallied for the friends of the Israeli Defense Force are held in this very room. And we have become associated and campaign for our meet. And that is the Jewish ladies organization that salvages the forgotten children in Israel and other activities. And I have to say that like a diamond whose brilliance is not revealed until the diamond is cut and polished, so the brilliance of the rabbi's efforts were not revealed until time passed and the world moved on. And the rabbi's efforts were always such to benefit the state of Israel. It was not unusual because his heart was always there. And now he too lies there. And so I say to the rabbi, shalom and rest in peace. For your work was well done. Shalom.
Thank you, Alex. That was excellent. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Samuel Spitalowicz to say a few words.
Pretty hard act to follow. So as not to inadvertently exclude anyone, good morning, everyone. And special recognition of the Marans family, many of whom have come from afar. I'm truly honored to speak about the rabbi and how he touched our lives both here and outside the sanctuary. I hope to adequately address his uniqueness and to celebrate it. Much has already been eloquently expressed, and no notes, if you notice. And by design, I will be brief. I began attending the services here regularly at the behest of my father-in-law, Maya Levy, who I'm sure many of you still remember. This was after my father passed in 1995, which is relative to many people here. I was just a little kid. And quickly developed a relationship that was quite close with the rabbi, as many in the congregation have. As all of us, I truly loved and respected him. We are here for a consecration. There are many definitions of this term, but the one that I found to be most applicable for today is to devote entirely, to dedicate. There's no doubt that the rabbi devoted and dedicated much of his life and energy to us who congregate in this beautiful temple. Although it preceded my time here, it's my clear understanding that he directed much of the design of this beautiful edifice. He knew this place. He designed this place. He was this place and still is. Today's Plaque Consecration is a celebration of his efforts within these walls. A man is measured by the deeds in his life and what is remembered after his passing. I believe that above all, he strived to and hopefully succeeded in educating us. He always emphasized that religion should not be a burden, but a source of enjoyment and a means to enhance our lives. He knew the specifics of the halachot, the laws. He knew it extremely well and was meticulous in following them, but he never lost the sight of the bigger picture. I particularly remember many years ago when my two children and my wife, we were all much younger, and particularly my kids were quite impressionable. I don't know if Tzipora remembers, but the rabbi and his wife invited us over during Sukkot. Shortly after the appropriate benedictions were completed in the Sukkot, it began to rain, and he emphatically stated, "We have fulfilled one obligation. It is also our obligation to enjoy Allah." So we went inside and had a wonderful meal and discussion. we thoroughly and truly did enjoy ourselves. My children were quite positively influenced by this experience, as I was, and as my wife. His actions, not mere words, reflected his religious philosophy. Judaism for him was not just halachot. It was a way of life, and he showed us again, by example, that it is a beautiful way to live. He accepted and supported various constructive inroads into Judaism, as his son mentioned, and he believed deeply in the Jewish people and our role as a light onto the nations. He fervently supported the state of Israel and recognized its importance to us as a nation, as the chosen people. Not only has he been our mentor and friend, but also has challenged us, at least challenged me certainly intellectually. Thus, for today, I found myself searching for appropriate psukim, the verses, and with the permission of many up here who are much more learned than I, significantly so, please allow me to cite a few of them which I feel are appropriate for today's occasion. Stated eloquently by Prophet Micah, was already mentioned by Rabbi Arnold. Ma Hashem doresh mimcha ki im asot mishpat, ahavat chesed v'hatznei lechet im Elokecha. What is it that God requires of you but to do justice, love mercy, and to walk humbly with thy God? I am sure that you will agree that our rabbi fulfilled these requirements, perhaps these demands. The only time I saw him visibly angry was when there was an injustice that he could not undo. But he then assessed the situation and was merciful in his approach and was always ready to forgive and forget and to move on, which is not easy for everyone, certainly not for me. But that was an innate aspect of his personality that was stated here and repeatedly shown in many occasions. He was a great orator, an accomplished historian, and an intellectual giant in my view, but never emphasized that, but was rather humble about it and chose rather to prompt us to fulfill our capabilities. In spite of his wisdom, or perhaps because of it, he was ready to seek advice. But I must say that he didn't always take our advice, but for sure, he always took it under advisement. When I was considering what psukim to inscribe on my parents' monuments, acting upon his suggestion, I reviewed the Psalms carefully and found only two that describe who will dwell in the sanctuary of the Lord. The 15th Psalm says it best in my view, and it's quite applicable to our rabbi. Mi yishkom b'har kodshecha, v'lev tamim u'poel tzedek v'dover emet b'levalo. Lo ragal l'shono lo asal re'eu ra. Who may dwell on your holy mountain? One who walks in perfect innocence and does what is right and speaks the truth from his heart, who has no slander on his tongue, who has done his fellow no evil, nor cast disgrace upon his close one. No one is perfect. No one walks in perfect innocence. But he always strives to improve himself, and we must follow by example. During our many drives back from the temple, frequently summarizing the day's events, he never spoke ill of anyone. He was never disingenuous and truly spoke the truth from his heart, always. One more quote, please. Just prior to the Amidah, we say, I frequently looked up at him with a smile, because it described him very well. Ashrei isha yishma mitzvotecha v'toratcha borcha yasim alibo. Happy is the man who hearkens to thy commandments, who sets thy law and thy word in his heart. His religion was his blessing. It enhanced his life the way he wanted it to enhance ours. His reward was immediate. Star mitzvah, mitzvah. Virtue is its own reward. In addition, he lived a long life and saw his beautiful family flourish, successful, devoted, and a testament to his example. We are here to consecrate, to devote entirely, to dedicate. The plaque is beautiful, nicely done. It will serve as a constant reminder of it. But for me, with or without it, I will feel his presence in this temple always. Yes, we all miss him. We all miss him physically. We would love to seek his advice. We all would like to know what he thinks about the current state of affairs locally and in the world. We can only hypothesize at this point what he would say. I knew him pretty well, and I have a good idea what his comments would be. Although there's been a physical loss of him, we will never lose him spiritually. Actions speak louder than words. If we are to truly honor this man, if we are to celebrate his life, it must be by what we do, by how we live. May our rabbi, our friend, our confidant, rest in eternal peace. Amen.
Thank you, Sam. That was beautiful. And now I'd like to invite, once again, Jerry Haddam to recite the blessing of peace.
Yivarech Adonai v'yishmerecha. Yair Adonai panav elecha v'yechu. Isa Adonai panav elecha v'yaseh lecha shalom.
Please rise for the Hashkalah. Kol Shem Yishem Tov Imamah B'Yom Yivaledo Sof Davar Kol Nishma Eta Elohim Yirah B'Mitzvotav Shemor Ki Zeh Kol Ha'adam V'Lefanav Panav Yishiva Yonash Kacha Kanpei Shekhinah Sham Tehei Menad V'Kitzad V'Shivat Nefesh Hashem HaTov Harav Avraham Dov Ben Aharon Marans Ruach Adonai Kinechanu B'Gan Eden HaMelech B'Rachamav Yachos V'Yachmol Alav V'Levei Elav HaShalom HaMishkabo Yi HaShalom Hu V'Chol B'nei Yisrael HaShochavim Imo B'Chal HaRachamim V'Hasalichot V'chein Yehi Ratzon V'Nomar Amen. Thank you very much. We're now as we conclude this wonderful event, you're all invited to some refreshments. Please take some time to say hello to the Marans family as well, because they will appreciate that. Chazak u'baruch to every person who participated.